Hey guys, it's Connor Marriott here, and welcome to today's training where I'm going to talk about one of the most powerful tools you'll ever be able to use, and that is focus. And right now in society, most people have absolutely zero focus. And if you can learn to harness the power of focus, you'll be able to get 10 times the result of everyone else. And so there's really two types of focus, and they are micro focus and macro focus. And so in today's training, I'm going to talk about both micro focus and macro focus. I'm going to show you why they're important and also how you can optimize your focus to get 10 times the result. Because right now, everyone only really talks about energy, and everyone's trying to increase their energy, and they'll have a lot of caffeine or drink a lot of coffee. And energy without focus is actually pretty useless, because as you can see from this diagram here, this is someone with a lot of energy, but it's going in all these different directions and it has no focus, and it's not actually going very far anywhere, but it has a lot of energy. And this is kind of how most people are right now. But if you look at this person, he has focus and he has the same amount of energy, but he's actually getting 10 times the result. And that's really what you guys want to start doing, is learning how to focus your energy to get 10 times the result. And so that's what I'm going to show you in this video. And so most people have zero focus. And when I talk about focus, I mean actually doing productive and meaningful work. And so if you look at the research, it tells us that to get into deep focused work, or as some people call flow, takes anywhere from 15 minutes all the way up to 120 minutes. And so what that means is if you focus on just one thing and have no distractions for a minimum of 15 minutes, sometimes as long as 2 hours, then you will start to produce focused work. And when you do that, your brain is actually able to completely focus on something, and it's able to produce at a lot higher level, and it's able to improve your creativity and your productivity, and basically just produce meaningful work. And so most people never get to this minimum threshold here. And again, the way focus kind of works is if you're not getting at least 15 minutes of focus, your productivity, your output is very, very low. And then once you hit that threshold, it really starts to increase from there. And again, most people never get even 15 minutes. And the reason we know that is because studies and research tells us that the average person checks their phone every 10 minutes, which means they're being distracted every 10 minutes, which means they never get 15 minutes at a minimum of focused work, which means they never actually produce at their optimal rate. And that's just your phone. That's not including emails or things on your computer, social media notifications, and all these other things. And what's happened is a lot of our brains have actually become addicted to distraction, and we've created these neural pathways that actually allow us not to focus. And so this is focus on a micro level, micro focus, and it's in terms of what you're actually doing day to day. And so the first thing we want to do is improve that, because if you can't even get 15 minutes of focus, that's like the starting point of meaningful work, then you'll never be able to produce meaningful work, and you really won't get much done at all. And so what we want to do is learn how to get into deep focused work. And the only way we can do that is by practice. And so what I would suggest you do is, if you struggle with focus, is start every day getting just 30 minutes of deep focused work. And the way we do that is by removing distraction. So it's actually really hard to consciously focus, but if you remove distraction, then focus is kind of just left by default. And so what I suggest you do is once a day, spend 30 minutes where you put your phone in another room, maybe even turn your computer off, remove all distractions, and just focus on one thing for 30 minutes. And so you could read a book or you could write. And if you're not used to this, you're probably not going to be able to do it, because again, your brain's probably craving distraction. So you might only get 10 minutes, but you want to keep practicing day after day until you can just get 30 minutes of uninterrupted focus. And once you've developed that skill, we've now developed your micro focus. We can start looking at your macro focus. And this really is where things are important, because your macro focus refers to what you're actually focusing on a big picture. So let's say you do this and you allow yourself to learn the ability to focus for 30 minutes, and that's probably the most important skill you'll ever develop. Now, what are you actually focusing on, right? We've progressed from just reading or writing. What can we actually focus on that's going to be meaningful? And just before we talk about that, if you are someone who struggles with this micro focus, I would suggest you read this book, and it's called Deep Work. And it talks about deep work and why it's important and why most people never get any of it and how you can start doing it. But if you don't want to buy the book, then you can just do 30 minutes a day of reading or writing and just learning to reprogram your mind to actually focus. So now let's say you've done that and you have the ability to focus for at least 30 minutes and ideally longer, but that's a long-term goal. Now what do we focus on? And this is what we talk about, macro focus. And most people, most businesses also have zero macro focus. And again, it's like this, that they're doing all these different things. They're doing 10 or 20 or different things, and they're just really not getting any results. So what we want to do is direct your focus to get a result. And so most businesses, they do Facebook ads and Google ads and Snapchat and Instagram and LinkedIn and Messenger bots and YouTube and emails and 400 different things, and they don't do anything well. And the reason they do that is because of two really important things. And they are, number one, memory, and number two, cause and effect. And so it's really important to understand these two things, because without understanding these two things, it's hard to understand why people can't focus on the macro. So memory, the way the human memory works is that it's really good at the start, right away, and then it gets progressively worse and worse, right? So if something just happens, you remember it, and then it slowly gets worse and worse and worse, and we start to forget. Now, that's really important to understand, because when you start something new, you're going to have a really good memory of that. Now, the way results work is actually kind of the opposite. And so let me give you an example. Let's say you wanted to learn about a new topic and you decided you want to start researching a new topic. And every day you're going to research for 15 minutes on this new topic. Well, on day one, you spent 15 minutes and you learn one thing. I'm just going to see where to draw this. So you learn one thing on day one. And you've learned one thing, and that's fine, but it's just one thing. And then the next day, you learn a second thing, and it's still just two things. But now you know two things. And then on the third day, you learn a third thing. But now you somehow see how this third thing actually relates to this first thing. And so there's a connection here. And so you've learned three things, but you've actually learned four things, because you've learned the first thing and the second thing and the third thing, but you've also learned how the first thing and the third thing connect. So you've learned four things, but you've only learned three things. And then on the fourth day, you learn another thing, so you learn a fourth thing, but you also then see how the fourth thing connects with the third thing and the second thing, and then you can understand how the first thing connects with the fourth thing and the third thing, and you actually see that they're all connected. And so you've learned four things, but you've actually learned like 10 things, because now things are starting to compound. And this is really how results work. If you just stick to it and things start to build, well, you might only learn four things, but you actually know 10 things. But if you just learn one thing and you just quit after learning one thing, well, then you just know one thing. And so this is how results work. The longer you do things, it's compound interest, it increases. And so it's actually the opposite of memory. And so you might start doing something now and you don't really get a result, but 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks from now, you really start to get a great result. Now, the reason this is important to understand, and the reason I'm talking about this, is because typically when you start to do something, by the time you get any sort of result, your memory of doing that thing is almost gone. And so let's say again, you start reading a book every day and you don't really get any result, but then after a month, you start to get a result. But your memory of reading at the start is almost all gone, and maybe you've just started doing something new. Maybe you've just started doing Snapchat. And what happens is, because your memory of Snapchat now is very strong, because it just happened, you associate that cause, Snapchat, with the effect that the original cause, which was reading, is actually causing. And so you think that you're getting this result now because of Snapchat, because you have a very strong memory of Snapchat and you have a very low memory of starting reading a month ago. But what actually caused this effect was the reading. And so what happens is you think this new thing is getting the result, but it's not. And you do more of the new thing, but you stop doing the original thing, which was reading, that actually got you the result. So now your results start to decline because you stopped doing the thing that actually caused the result. And now you're not getting any results. and you've stopped reading and now you're annoyed at Snapchat, so you stop doing Snapchat, and so now you're not doing anything and you're not getting any result, and basically you just quit and then start something else. And so this is basically what people do. They start something and then, well, most people actually quit before they even get any result because we're addicted to instant gratification. But we want to understand that even if you do continue things, sometimes we do, we then associate the result with something new, and it's not actually the thing that caused the result. And so understanding this is really important, because if you don't understand this, you'll always be doing different things, because you might get a result, but you're going to associate it with the wrong thing, and then you stop the thing that actually caused the result, and you end up with no results, and you basically just do a lot and achieve nothing. And so we want to understand that, because if you want to get results and you want to focus, you need to understand that it will take time to get that result, and your memory is going to almost be gone by the time you get the result. But if you can understand that before you begin that process, you'll actually stick to it. And so that's it for this video, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Click the button below and I'll see you inside the program.